Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to this very special Power Hour deadline day special. We are now a full quarter into MTD mandation, and you have just about a month and a little bit to get those first submissions in. And we are here to help you do that as smoothly and easily as possible. So good to see everyone. I am joined by none other than Nick Moss, the Head of Professional Services here at TaxCalc and Engager, and also Stuart McEwan, the Principal Product Manager at FreeAgent. So we're going to take care of you. We're going to answer your questions, and we're going to show you exactly how to make those submissions. So first of all, for those of you who have not been to one of our sessions previously, a little bit of housekeeping. You've got a couple of options down the bottom right there. So the chat is for everyone. I see a lot of you have already made good use of that. If you do have a particular question though that you want us to see, use the questions tab, because that's gonna cut through the noise and get to us a bit more directly. So if you've got any particular questions, do that. So yeah, wonderful to see everyone here. Hello, all of you. Oh, bless. Let's get into this. So we want to start off with a few questions. And these aren't the questions that you might hear elsewhere. So these we've tried to go a little bit deeper than perhaps some others. So I'm going to throw this to both of you. Just jump in. Just to be clear, so what work now genuinely moves from January into the year, and what work will remain in the final declaration process?
Hey folks, great to have you all. Great to have you all along with us. I think for that one, I'd say the routine record keeping, categorization, chasing, all the basic income expenditure view is definitely moving into the year, and a lot of that. Especially using tools like TaxCalc and FreeAgent, a lot of it's automated, a lot of it's pretty slick through the year, and then that final declaration, which we'll kind of show today in our products, that annual tax, I guess, adjustments and allowances and all those things kind of moves into January. So in theory, maybe not year one, but definitely in theory, it should make for a far less spike in January of activity. I don't know what you think about that, Nick. Do you reckon the same?
Yeah, 100%. I think that this first quarter is going to be very interesting. Just making sure that all of the accountants are comfortable with that first submission. Now, I think that once you've gone through the first probably two or three in a variety of different tools, of which obviously TaxCalc and FreeAgent are our priority ones, but once you've done it for the first two or three, I think you'll be fine. It's just making sure that you've got all the data in from your client to do the information. If they are not doing their own bookkeeping, that's my only worry, is that they don't get the information to you if they're not doing it themselves.
Just so you know, I do see the questions coming in. We'll go through the first section and then we'll take those on. So please do keep them coming. We're not ignoring you. We will get to those shortly. So I just want to go to just a bit of basics. Digital record keeping. What are we looking at when things get messy and you've got different client scenarios? You've got like rental statements, mileage, that kind of thing. How are we handling that?
So I think if we maybe start with what digital record keeping actually is in this situation, there's definitely a lot of do journals count? How can I import? And I think the important thing is the underlying income and expense records need to exist digitally and be capable of being corrected in software, not just recreated from paper. And that definitely includes spreadsheets, and we'll definitely get onto that in a bit of time. And I think the messiness is where there's maybe multiple income streams, which is a big part of MTD about bringing things together. Maybe mixed use costs as well is something that we see quite a bit. Free agents and questions over how they're split, or a landlord and property ownership split. I think the other kind of messiness which exists today, and it's not going to be solved overnight, is kind of using paperwork and actual physical receipts, and what does that mean for HMRC and for MTD. So yeah, that's a lot of the mess that we see. Rental statements as well is probably another good example of landlords needing to go from I've got the statement into I need to submit MTD, and so you'll see there's tools kind of becoming much more popular around the rental statement extraction and getting those kind of data in. I think they're the most common messy ones that we're seeing. What about TaxCalc?
I've got nothing much more to add on there. Effectively, with ours, it's just making sure you put the information onto the spreadsheet ready to submit it. There's nothing more to add on that one. Stu, I think you've gone through enough detail on that one, unless anyone's got any more points. But yeah, you've covered absolutely everything there. There's a couple of questions that I just want to make sure we answer in the chat. Stu, you may know this a bit more than I do, but effectively, can someone clarify that if a client hasn't received an MTD letter, they don't have to file using MTD? Can you just get that one knocked off with Louise if possible?
Yeah, I would imagine so. The only caveat to that is not receiving a letter in this day and age can be down to things like a change of address and all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't ever take, oh, I've not got a physical bit of paper, as that means I'm not included. I would definitely go through all the checks and balances that are on HMRC's website. They have quite a good few pages as to what it means if you're in or not, and especially as accountants and bookkeepers, I think going through that is definite sensible steps. I wouldn't ever take anything for 100% granted.
Yeah, 100%. And there's another question as well. I just want to box off. We're going further, Andy. I know I appreciate it's only a short webinar we've got today, but it's a really important reference from today from Denise that says, if a client is both a sole trader and a landlord, do they have to file 2 MTD returns? So just to really clarify that, there will be 2 separate quarterly submissions, effectively. Yep, one for the sole trade, one for the rental income, but they would still be only one final declaration. Yep, in the effectively the end of year tax return. So yes, there's 2 submissions for the 2 different income streams, but one final tax return submission effectively. So just wanted to clarify that one because it's really important of what we're going to go through today in the quarterly submission element.
I tell you what, right? I'm just going to go into the questions because that's what everyone wants, right? We're just going to hit the question tab because it's already filling up. So let's just go through them. So Angela says, I have a client that has received her MTD letter and I've tried to register for MTD, but HMRC is saying that she has to register herself. How's she going to proceed? Should I proceed to register her using my ASA? So that may be a call to HMRC, I think, on that one.
I was going to say I'm a little bit nervous about giving advice on the HMRC processes around this kind of dispute. If it comes out as Stuart FreeAgent said this and HMRC is saying something else, I don't want that lingering over me. So I feel your pain, firstly, 100% feel your pain. This is not the first kind of question I've seen around this kind of stuff, but I'm afraid the answer is at HMRC's end, it's not a software end.
I think definitely go there. Okay, so Dinesh, can I use the same TaxCalc platform that I currently use for the submission of quarterly VAT returns? Hit it now.
So yes, it's fundamentally the same TaxCalc platform. You would just need the additional MTD quarterly filer product, which is what I'm going to be taking everyone through how to use once Stu's gone through the FreeAgent platform first. So absolutely, Dinesh, you would just need to add on the excellent value MTD quarterly filer product that TaxCalc has.
Yeah, we will be showing you that. Will FreeAgent be ready to support MTD submissions from 26-27 for foreign property businesses?
So foreign property is the only part of MTD we're not supporting in the first year. I'm delighted to say that of the final declarations and end of years made from 25-26, beta year FreeAgent has the most. We are completely ready for end of year. But for foreign property, that's not something we're investing in the first year. So I will elaborate a little bit further on that because I think it's quite important in that there is the HMRC software selections tool, and you can decide on, you can put in your specifications of what you need to come up with a tool. And I was on it yesterday and looking at the softwares that do support foreign property in year 1 and was extremely surprised by how few there are. So I would encourage everyone to go and have a look at that because you don't want to be caught mid-year and expect a software to do it and then not to do. I'm very happy and honest to say FreeAgent's not doing that in year 1, but there's a couple of other big solutions that you might expect to do that or are saying that they're doing it, and they absolutely are not, according to HMRC's website. So I definitely encourage people to go and do that.
Excellent. Okay, so if the client, this is from Ken, if the client has previously reported to the 5th of April, is it sensible to stick to 5th? Most clients understand that the calendar date better, but I've had a submission refused today due to opening date being 5th of April.
So I think this maybe goes into a little bit of accounting advice. So as to what is better. So I'll stray away from saying one is better than the other. I think there isn't a few advantages of calendar quarters versus tax year quarters, but we are seeing an absolute mix from all of our partners and different clients within partners. The one most obvious advantage of calendar year quarters is you get an extra 7 days to file that quarter than if you use tax year, because it starts on the 6th of July rather than the 1st of July. And that's been quite a decent decision for, maker for some practices. But I don't think I genuinely have a personal opinion as to what is best for what clients. I don't know, Nick, if you've got any thoughts on that.
Personally, I will be going for a calendar period end, just because it's easier for the client to think of it. I appreciate that people think about the 5th of April, but they don't think about the 5th of July. So I will be going calendar period end for me personally. But for me, as long as it's consistent in each client. For example, you don't have a client that's got self-employment and rental property, and one's calendar, one's standard, where it gets messy. As long as it's consistent for a particular client, that makes your life easier. That's how I would have it. But if you can try and keep it as consistent as possible across the entire practice, the better for everyone. But I would be using calendar just because it's easy to remember it.
Okay, so I am conscious of time, so I want to go through these a little bit quicker. I see you've been answering some of these. When will TaxCalc work for property business? I think you've answered that for Irene.
Now you can make foreign property and property submissions through TaxCalc's quarterly update just via the Excel spreadsheet submission tool. So absolutely, yeah, you can do that. It's just the final declaration point that Stuart mentioned that is available to in FreeAgent now that TaxCalc haven't released for those clients on the beta yet, on the beta pilot. So yeah, that will be there, I think, in the next few weeks. But yeah, quarterly submissions, if you've got a property business, 100% fully booked, go for it.
So I'm seeing a few questions here from people saying that they believe their clients are above the threshold, but HMRC is not acknowledging that or saying no, they don't need to. So what's the best approach with that? Should you just go with what HMRC is saying, or just submit anyway? Or
oh wow, that's a hell of an accounting advice question. Again.
Another accounting advice question. Come on now.
I would always tend to opt on the side of, if HMRC are saying something, to follow that, and then you can always either appeal or go back from that. My real worry would be in thinking that they're over the threshold, and then that being wrong, and HMRC then saying, but we told you. However, there is an elephant in the room here, and that is that the year one is a soft landing, and there aren't penalty points for missing this stuff until you get all the way to final declaration. Which in many situations is a good thing. In this one, perhaps not, because you're never really going to find out. You might not find out the answer for quite a while. But personally, if it was me, I would be continuing along what HMRC said rather than doing the opposite.
It makes sense. So, conscious of time, we will come back to these questions, and we've got so much to tell you. We may run over a little bit, but what I'd really like to do is just to make sure that we get to see the products. I've tossed a coin. Stuart, you're up first to show filing through FreeAgent. So if you want to take the stage,
sure, absolutely.
Be able to share screen.
Okay, cool. I think you guys can see that. So I'm going to spend maybe 5 minutes or so going through this kind of stuff. I'm going to show you a bit of a landlord and a bit of a sole trader, do a quarterly update and an end of year. I'll probably whiz through a lot of this. We can always, if you want to know more, you can always kind of come and contact FreeAgent, and there's loads of activities going on. But I'm going to start. This is in my practice dashboard, and I've got two clients here. One is a landlord, and one is a sole trader. So I'm going to go into my landlord account, and the first thing I'm going to look at is the kind of property area. Now, this is quite like a simple view. I've got a very quick income, expenses, and profit, and I've got 3 properties in this case. We've got an area called property settings. And in property settings, you set the ownership splits once, or you can do as many as you want if they change over time, but you don't need to tag every ledger as a percentage owning to somebody. So in this account, I've got Keith Gray owns 100% of properties. And then for these individual properties from specific dates, we have ownership splits. And you can edit these if you'd like, or you can say, I claim rent a room. We support that in full as well. And that's kind of how property ownership splits work. You say, this is the percentage for this property or this date, and you can change them, and then they flow into MTD. So you don't need to tag the ledger separately again. But if I go into the MTD area, that's kind of what we're here to show. So I'm going taxes and income tax. This is a summary of income tax. Now I've got MTD, I'm connected to HMRC for MTD, and therefore it is switched on in my account. If you're using FreeAgent and you don't know how to switch on MTD for HMRC and make that connection, we've got loads of guides on our website. Just give it a wee Google and guide will pop up for you. But if I go into 25-26, so the beta year in this case, I'm in a situation where I've got my annual tax estimate. This is the estimate that HMRC populates. And I've got my 1, 2, 3, 4 end of year adjustments, and then the final tick box to say, yes, I'm all good. And this end of year and final declaration is part of the same filing process. So at this stage, I've got Q3 filed and Q4 filed, but I've not touched, sorry, Q2 and 3, but I've not touched Q4. So if I click send update, I can send an update to HMRC, and we're doing this in real time. This is actually sending an update. And we give you a nice spinner to say, look, we're sending this update to HMRC and a percentage of how complete we are through that filing. We give you a nice wee kind of whirling, we're processing up the updates. And because the quarters are cumulative, as I'm submitting now, because it's past the 25-26 year, we're doing all of them again. You're not just submitting a quarter by itself. And while that's happening, I'll kind of show you FreeAgent has an income and expenses totals, and they're broken down into the individual nominals, or we call them categories. And we've got net profit, taxable profit, and then anything that's below the line here. So we've got residential financial cost relief, which kind of sits underneath. Now that's gone through. We say your quarter 4 update has been submitted. This fulfills your obligation. You can move into your end of year adjustments and final declaration. This is exactly the same as a sole trader account. I will just continue in the landlord at the moment, but then I can go send the end of year update. But before I do, I'll show you the rest of the tax return, as it were, or what MTD looks like. Now, FreeAgent allows you to add any income that will form part of your year end at any point throughout the year. So these tabs here, annual summary, employment, individual information, losses, can be added at any point. A lot of people have already added them from what we've seen of our Q1 filers on day one already. So for example, individual information here. We go through, and this is kind of, for anyone that's not seen it before, this is the software's attempt at mapping the SA returns to MTD. And by software, I kind of mean this is not agnostic to, this is not specific to FreeAgent. Capital gains on residential property disposals or charitable givings, you'll see this kind of terminology in all the MTD solutions. But we've tried to make it as easy as possible. So all of these things are turned on as no by default. And if you know your client has these things, you can turn them on. So for example, in this account, I can say, yes, they have charitable givings. You say, yes, that's cool. And then you can add your gifts or add your gift payments like that. It's really straightforward. One thing that FreeAgent does that we're seeing people absolutely love is this thing that's down here at the bottom or on the side panel called request data from HMRC. And this is at any point for as many clients as you want, as often as you want, you can say request data from HMRC. Now, this doesn't do a quarterly update for you because we send nothing to HMRC. All we're saying is we will request everything you know about that taxpayer and bring that into FreeAgent. So many of these areas won't be in FreeAgent. Let's say CIS deductions. In fact, I think I've got them on my sole trader account, so I'll show you what that looks like. This client might be CIS, but if there's contractor payments, we might not know what they are because we don't have the payment deduction statements. So I'll kind of show you what that looks like. But the point is, MTD allows us in FreeAgent to pull back everything that doesn't exist in FreeAgent about that taxpayer. So this is a good example. CIS deductions. I've turned that on and I've requested data from HMRC. And they've said, oh, we've got this contractor here. This is their name. This is the period of the payment that the contractor made about this subby. Here's a deduction amount. Here's the cost of materials. Here's the gross amount paid. And all this, usually in the SA kind of forms, you'd have to wait to get the payment deduction statements or wait till you get all the documentation. MTD unlocks this and FreeAgent brings all that in from you. And likewise, I could scroll and scroll and scroll and you'll see all the areas. Foreign income, foreign lease. As I called out earlier, the only part you won't see in year one is foreign property. Everything else is there and it's already built. We don't have a roadmap of more things to build. It's there. And that's pretty much it. I'll send the final declaration while I'm on, and then I'll kind of go back to the I'll let show and Nick show you the TaxCalc stuff. But right here, I've sent my year 4 and I've done my adjustments. So we say, carefully review your tax breakdown. And we give you a full tax breakdown of that taxpayer. They've got property income, they've got savings and gains, they've got UK dividends, etc., etc. And this is extremely detailed. We give you all the information, and you can say accept and send for approval. If you've got approvals turned on, you can also turn approvals off if you don't think your clients need to approve them. That's completely up to you, and all the powers in your practice dashboard, and you can file that. So in this kind of thing, I'm just going to say test, and I'm going to send it to my client for approval. And then it goes out to them. They get an email, they get a notification. Let's say they've approved, or I can approve for them if I know they don't use the product, but I still want an approval on a date in the audit trail. And I can sign and say, I've signed that this is all complete, approve and sign. And I can send that final declaration by ticking a box. This is the legal declaration that all the software will have, and I'll send that final declaration. I think the last point I want to make is, when the first question at the very start of the call, when I was asked about what shifts from January to mid-year, all the quarterly updates, all the bookkeeping can be done mid-year. And that final declaration I've literally just submitted to HMRC in real time isn't a whole bunch of work, because so much of the bookkeeping is done, and all these adjustments like adding employment details, adding individual information, can be done mid-year so that you don't have to do it at year end. And if you use this request data from HMRC feature, or if it's on the main page, it's kind of more, and I'll go into the kind of next tax year to show you more and request data from HMRC, then you can pull all that stuff back if HMRC know about it already. The PAYE is a good example there. So you don't have to add this stuff up yourself. So that's pretty much FreeAgent in a nutshell. I haven't touched upon loads of our powerful features, but I think that gives a flavor as to what it looks like and how ready we are.
Oh, just unmute, Andy.
I'm normally so good at that, not doing the muted. I have put a little poll live at the bottom right. So if you are interested in getting any follow-up around FreeAgent, any of TaxCalc's products, or indeed Engager, and how Engager, that's our cloud practice management solution, which I believe Nick's going to be talking about as well. You could indicate in there, and we can come back and follow up with you on that. So please do so. We've had a lot more questions come in. Nick has been answering some of them, and I think we may have a little hand grenade from one of the questions, which I think we'll add in towards the end. Nick, do you want to just go live and just go through quarterly filer?
Yeah, I think that will answer a fair few of the questions. Josh will go through and answer some of the FreeAgent specific ones in the chat, but it might then just tie up a few of the questions as I go through. Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, and the first thing I want to talk about is the Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so let me share my screen, and that should come through any second. Okay, fantastic. So what I've got on screen here is an Excel spreadsheet template that TaxCalc has created and provided for all of our clients and anyone else to use. Now, I'm just going to put a link to where you can find that spreadsheet in the chat. Let me just dig that out and put it in here. So if you want to get a copy of this spreadsheet to use and tailor with your own clients' logos and names, feel free to do so, because effectively what this spreadsheet is it's various different tabs across the bottom, which in the quarterly filing totals has all the relevant boxes that HMRC would want you to submit, whether you're doing a short form or full form submission, depending on the income levels for that client. Because behind this lead sheet of quarterly filing totals, we have tabs for the sales transactions and the purchases transactions. Because what these do is, depending on as your client goes and fills it in, or you fill it in on behalf of your client at the end of each quarter, you choose the type of income and expenditure. And as this information is filled in, that will then pull through to these lead boxes. We can see if I select my cost of goods bought for resale or goods used, you can see I've got the relevant formulas at the top that will pull through the total for the purchase transactions for the year-to-date field from the tab behind it. So fundamentally, it's purely a spreadsheet of transactions for either the first quarter or the first and second, or the first, second and third, the cumulative data that you'd be submitting. Now, like I said, you can tell us, you can use your own if you wanted to, but the whole point here is that I'm able to then go and save that spreadsheet, close it down, and then go into TaxCalc. because from here I'm able to open up our MTD quarterly filer product. That was the question I think we had earlier on, where it's saying, do I need an additional license? It would be done in the MTD quarterly filer license. I click launch, and it would then ask me to search for my particular client, which this example is Ian Simpson. I'm just going to go to 5th of April 2026 because that's the client record that I've got set up and ready to go for this particular demo today. And we can see here that Ian Simpson has got multiple trades. He's got his Simpsons Motors and he's got a UK property trade. And we can see that they are both visible within TaxCalc. Now, what's really helpful is that he may do his Simpsons Motors trade through FreeAgent, right? He may do the UK property through TaxCalc. You can do different income streams and different trades through different products if you wanted to do that. And you'll be able to see that within TaxCalc. Now, if I go to the quarterly statuses, I can see for each of those different trades whether I have made the submissions or not. We can see the first quarter I submitted, but the last 3 are overdue. It would tell me equally that if the top one was made through FreeAgent, I would have this box ticked to say it was a non-TaxCalc submission. So quite a helpful little section to see there. But actually making the submission is super easy on TaxCalc. You would go to data submissions on the left-hand side, make sure you're in the correct trade on the left-hand side, click create new update, and it will then do it for the relevant period. In this one, it's doing it for the entire year from the 6th of April to the 31st of March. You can see I've got the option to do summarize data or detailed breakdown, but I must choose the detailed breakdown if the annual turnover is likely to be above £90,000. I click select file and browse to that. So if I come to my desktop and go to my FreeAgent one, I've got my MTD spreadsheet, which is what I opened before, and it will then open that particular spreadsheet in my system. Now, for some reason, mine's taking about 10, 15 seconds to upload. It didn't used to do that. I think it's my demo environment, so it shouldn't take that long. But I'd say the main difference between the demonstration I'm showing you now compared to what Stu showed you previously is that in FreeAgent, the information is already in there for the quarter, as you're likely doing the bookkeeping live, yeah, or your client's doing the bookkeeping live at the time. Whereas in TaxCalc, you would have to keep the spreadsheet. You have to fill in the spreadsheet to get it ready to go. Hence why Stu was able just to go, there's your quarter 4, all the data's been filled in. Let's just click the submit button. In TaxCalc, you need to upload the spreadsheet once it's been filled in correctly, pick the relevant breakdown. And once we've got the file in TaxCalc, like it's uploaded there, I can click next and it will then show me that spreadsheet on screen. We can see I've got all my tabs across the bottom for quarterly filing totals, sales and purchases that we saw before, but it's the quarterly filing totals tab that's the important one for this particular submission. It's then a case of, once I've got my quarterly filing totals selected at the bottom, you can see I've got all my different income streams and expenses on the right-hand side. It's a case of then dragging and dropping the relevant turnover or other income onto the correct box, like I've got there. The same for the expenses. I've got cost of goods, so I can drag and drop that one over my cost of goods spreadsheet there. But once you've done that for a particular client, I can then have that mapping saved. So I can say, I actually just want to use the TaxCalc MTD template, and that can then drag and drop automatically where they are. Now, one of the questions I had before was, if we had multiple different expenses or multiple boxes going to the same expense, you can drag and drop it multiple times. So it's not a case of it's just one-to-one. You can have as many different cells on your spreadsheet mapping to the same income or expense box. So that will be able to manage there. And then if you click add disallowable on the right-hand side, I can add a percentage or an amount if I want to disallow it with that particular client. I can then click save and next, and then click continue. And we can see here, this is where I get a data import summary that I'm able to export and send to my client for approval if I wish, so to have that stored locally. It would then be a case of clicking submit to HMRC in the bottom right-hand corner to then submit that particular quarterly update to your client. Now, one of the big differences that we have in TaxCalc compared to what Stu showed before was then how do you go and make the final declaration? So our final declaration is done within the same tax return production function that you do currently for all your SA100s. The benefit of using TaxCalc, I would say, over a lot of the systems out in the market is that you could use whatever other system you want to do for your quarterly submission, the likes of TaxCalc I've mentioned there. Stu's obviously shown the FreeAgent one. The whole point is that all that information goes to HMRC in whatever process they manage, but then it's stored in HMRC in a consistent location. What it's then going to be able to do is to pull from HMRC that information. It's called the HMRC fetch, and populate that into the TaxCalc tax return. So it allows you to use whatever submission process you want for the quarterly update, but then have a consistent filing method for the end of year tax return. So yeah, we're not yet ready to showcase that. We're expecting that to be released in the August update. That was a few questions we've had in the question section there. But effectively, you could then do your finalization process in the same product you do at the minute within TaxCalc. So hopefully that's cleared a few of the questions we had up around the quarterly filing submission and the TaxCalc free agent question people had. So absolutely, if your client is on free agent, feel free to make the quarterly submissions within there. And we'd absolutely recommend you do that. There were some people in the market, I would say, over the last 12 months suggesting that you do the bookkeeping in free agent, QuickBooks Zero, whatever. I'm going to mention them, even though some people think we're not allowed. We can mention the other providers in the market, but then they're saying take that data out and put it onto spreadsheets and submit it through the likes of TaxCalc. I personally absolutely say that is ridiculous. Please do, if your client is using free agent, make the quarterly submissions through free agent. That is a really important point to mention, because there's been some strange information going around in the market about that. So I really want to clarify that. How you do the finalization process at the end is up to you. Okay. Pronounced H, not H. There we go. Yeah, thanks, Ian. But yeah, I just wanted to make that point there. So Andy, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to bring up at this point.
Can I just jump in quickly and say very much the same from our perspective, Nick? Like there's a lot of mutual practices that use free agent and TaxCalc, and I think there's been a few questions on this. So I'll just kind of clarify like publicly on the call as well. Like, we are absolutely not precious at free agent that you do the final declaration inside of free agent. We know that there's a really nice path into TaxCalc, and your final declaration filer is great, and I'm sure it's going to have a huge market share and stuff. So likewise from our side, as long as you're kind of doing the quality updates there or using free agent, you can do the final declaration in TaxCalc and just mark it as done in free agent, and it locks your tax year down.
Fantastic, no problem at all. Thanks for that one. And Denise has made a question there saying, where will the download for the TaxCalc booking spreadsheet be? I've just put it in the chat, Denise. It's that KB article that I linked to. And in terms of the costing, it's all on the TaxCalc website, but it's done per national insurance number, not by trade in terms of how we price. It's quite similar to free agent, I believe, in terms of it's done by individual, not by submission numbers that you need to make for them. And I think it starts at £56 per year for 12 if you're a TaxCalc user for personal tax. I think it's 50% off. So it does scale, obviously, up to 1,000 submissions, even though there's probably no one needs, hopefully on the call needs to make 1,000 submissions. But yeah, absolutely, there's a variety of different ways you can do that. But yeah, absolutely go to the TaxCalc website to find that out.
And there's a significant discount for people who are using tax return production. So just a couple of quick questions. So just to be absolutely clear, people can use their own spreadsheets and just simply map them into our template, because that came up a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Paul says, I can only seem to map 2 individual cells to one MTD report line. How do I map 3 or more?
He should be able to map as much as you need. What I'd suggest there, if you just log a TaxCalc support call, you just email support@taxcalc.com, we'll be able to sort that out for you. You should be able to log as many as you need.
Will, and I love this question just because when I first read it, I misread it. And it says, if you're a sole trader who's over the limit and required to do MTD, probably wait till you sober up a little and have one... you're required to do MTD, yet they also have one property. Does the property need to be included in this along with bank interest? So you're a sole trader, you're in MTD, you have one property. I'm not quite sure. Does the property need to be included in this with the bank interest?
It does. It's not a threshold for your sole trader amount and then a threshold for your landlord amount. You combine the income together, the property and the sole trade. And if that takes you over the threshold, then you are in MTD for both income streams.
Stephanie says, if we don't use TaxCalc for the quarterly filings, use QuickBooks, etc., will we be able to fetch and use that info easily without a license for the end of year tax return on TaxCalc? You're going to need a license.
Yeah. If you want to do the end of year submission, the replacement of the SA 100, the MTD tax return, the final declaration, whatever the names are, if you want to do that in TaxCalc, you would need a tax return production license in TaxCalc. Yeah.
But you can draw that down. So if you make all your submissions through something else, you can still draw down your information from HMRC into the final deck.
Absolutely, right. If your client is on free agent, make the quarterly submissions through free agent, right? If for whatever reason they're on Dext, or if make them through whatever bookkeeping or submission product that they are on, We are there to do the final declaration after that point. Yeah, so it's in one consistent process. That's the thing.
There are still so many questions coming in. I don't really know where to start. I'm going to do maybe 3 more, and then I think we're going to have to wrap because we're already over time. I mean, are you guys happy to stay on for a short while longer? Okay, so I'm going to go with, there was one there that I felt was particularly, so this is from Denise, for the clients who bring a bag of receipts, do you have to enter every receipt or just a total for the quarter?
It would have to be every receipt. It's digital record keeping, right? You've got to put every line on there. Yeah, if you're putting just a total in, it's just totally defeating the object of what MTD is there for. You absolutely got to put every line in. Unfortunately, sorry, Denise.
Sorry about that.
No, sorry too. There's maybe one extra addendum to that might help. Is if it's the total income sources are under 90K, you only need to submit the consolidated expenses to HMRC, even though you need the digital record keeping underneath. I don't know if that makes any life easier, but yeah, as the other chaps say, you do need every receipt digitized.
So Ken says several of our MTD clients are also VAT registered, for which each quarter we produce management accounts, for which we may have different expense categories. Even if over the 90K annual sales, can we, for MTD returns, just do summary totals?
So summary totals, and there's a far more long-winded explanation as to what the exact definition is. But the 3-line expenses or 3-line accounts are you allowed to do it if you're under 90K from the sources. If any source goes over the 90,000, you will need that full breakdown. I think I would just cross-reference it with HMRC's exact wording. I don't have it to hand right now.
Jessica asked, how do we include provisions, use of home or out-of-pocket expenses? That's just going to go in the final deck, right?
Yeah, in the final
declaration. You don't need to worry about that for the quarterlies.
No, quarterlies is just your income and your expenses, really. Like, break it down like that, and then everything else goes into the final deck.
Chris says, we've done a submission today. Who was it with, Chris? We want to know. But the Q1 status shows as partially submitted. When will this change to be fulfilled?
I honestly don't. I don't know which software it's been submitted through.
With TaxCalc.
There you go. Well, I'll mute.
Thanks, Chris. When's it going to happen, Nick?
Sorry, I missed on, Andy. My internet just dropped. Say again, sorry.
The question was, we've done a submission today, and it's with TaxCalc, but the Q1 status shows partially submitted. When will it change to fulfilled?
Not sure. I've never seen that. Mine goes fulfilled straight away. Yeah, might be HMRC one. Again, if you just email support@taxcalc.com, we'll be able to get on that one pretty quickly for you, Chris. We're hot on the MTD ones as it's the first live submissions. So absolutely, please log a support ticket.
Okay, 2 more questions. Can FreeAgent identify previously submitted quarterly updates too?
Yeah, the first thing to do is once you've got MTD connected in FreeAgent, if you use that request data from HMRC that I kind of showed, it will pull back everything that's already been done about that client. So we'll pull in everything that we know to date.
Okay, and one more. Another question from Will. If the sole trader income and the property income are combined into one return, I thought it was 2 returns a quarter, meaning 1 MT submission per business. But if my sole trader turnover is 45, my landlord is 10, my income is 55, is that in 1 submission?
No, it's in one final declaration at the end of the year because you are one taxpayer. But for quarterly updates, they are separate things and they need separated out. You don't combine your property income with your sole trader income in one single business submission because they are separate businesses.
Okay, so we have gone well over time. I want to thank Stu and Nick for joining us. We'll probably be doing another one of these, I think, maybe just as we approach the end of July, as we get right towards that final deadline. We love hearing your questions. It's a brilliant community here. Thank you so much for joining us. I do want to just the naughty side of Andy wants to just ask one question before we sign off, and that is the one that, and we're going to run at this point. just a quick conversation in chat about what are people charging for MTD submissions. Let's go. I thought that might be dangerous. So yeah, Denise, if you want to go and get involved with that, I'd strongly recommend you join MTD therapy, because those people will help you out. Just look for MTD therapy, speak to Tom, he's on there, and he will help you out with any questions you have about charging. That's well outside of our area. So thank you everyone once again on this wonderful day. It's beautiful outside, but let's get stuck in with our MTD quarterly submissions, and we will see you again in a few weeks' time. Good luck, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers, folks.
Bye.